welcome to Menopause Rescue. I'm Dr. Polly Watson. Midlife women are often caught up in a sea of symptoms. Too often, they're overwhelmed by the lack of support from mainstream healthcare. They're inundated with so-called experts who are selling solutions which may lack credibility. I'm a Menopause Society certified gynecologist with both traditional and functional medicine training. I'm here to guide you through this transition and help you decipher the facts from the fads. Armed with credible information, I hope you are empowered to rescue and restore your health, making the second half of your life your best. Welcome to Menopause Rescue. I'm your host, Dr. Polly Watson, and I'm so excited to have Kate Willis, nurse practitioner, with me today. And we are going to go behind the scenes and share with you things that we use in our own lives to help promote our health journeys as women in almost menopause and perimenopause.
Yes. So the first resource I want to talk about is something called Evlo Fitness. No affiliation here, just something we have both used. I'm currently using Evlo as my primary workout source. It is a streaming platform started by a doctor of physical therapy, and all the classes are taught by doctors of physical therapy. So they are very mindful of the research and physiology as they are implementing workouts. Each week is a curated workout depending on what track you choose. And so you kind of just open the app and it tells you what to do that day. Workouts most of them are 35 minutes, so they're not a huge time commitment. They're done at home. The reason I really like this for women in perimenopause and menopause is because the exercises are very, very joint friendly. And so for anyone who's dealing with achy joints or maybe an injury, this is really fantastic because they will not have you throwing weights over your head or doing a burpee. Never. They are very mindful of actually building the muscle, so bringing the muscle to failure while preserving joint health. I also find for people who like a Pilates type style of workout, this really resonates with them because a lot of the exercises are very low to the ground. They're supported. So even if you're standing, there's generally some sort of support that's recommended for stability. Again, stability in the joints to maximize the work to the muscle. So I really love it. I have been a lifelong exerciser, and I have found this is the platform that helps me build the most muscle without having this injuries or systemic fatigue, which had been a real problem for me with previous types of workouts. So Evlo Fitness, EVLO Fitness.
When I used it, the thing that I thought was really funny was almost like they could read my mind. We were doing a chest press, and she's like, if your shoulder's pinching, rotate your palm inward. And I thought, how did you know my shoulder was pinching? But because they're physical therapists, they've anticipated a lot of common places where people might be a little bit stuck, and then in the moment make these really fantastic suggestions.
Yeah, lots of cues, lots of suggestions, lots of opportunities for modifications or exercise substitutions. And they say, if you hate X exercise, don't do it. Here's another option.
It's a really nice way with a streaming platform where you really can personalize within that. And you're not like constantly scrolling, looking through. I know sometimes I've used the Peloton app, which I like, but you can really, if you only have 20 minutes to work out, you could spend 5 trying to find the right workout. And so don't waste your time. Just have it pull up. Okay, this is what we're doing this week. Let's go. Let's get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, kind of curtailing on this strength building, as someone who's 50, I really want to emphasize doing mobility work for injury prevention. Maybe even if you're not an exerciser right now, we're all sitting for hours and hours a day, or we're stooped over our phones, or we're stooped over the steering wheel, and we need to be strengthening our back so we sit up well. We need to be supporting our necks. We need to be working on our hip flexors and stretching them out. And so I love mobility resources to prevent injury and help us get more comfortable moving. So there are 2 people that I really have a total girl crush on. And one of them is Katie Bowman, who wrote a book called Fix Your Position. Katie on her website has a virtual studio, so you can take little classes on how to fix your squat. You can take classes on how to strengthen your feet. So there are a lot of really fantastic resources, and I feel like she has a lot there that's very cost effective. I think her virtual studio is like $19 a month.
Mhm.
Again, no affiliation with any of these things. These are just things that we've used ourselves that really like. Another person that I think is fantastic for mobility is Jill Miller, and her series is called Yoga RX. She does a lot with the little firm balls or the bigger, squishier balls. And really, she's got some great YouTube videos on vagus nerve, which we talk a lot about, and even working in your face for vagus nerve work with just a little tennis ball. And so those are some great resources. Katie Bowman, Fix Your Position, or Jill Miller, Yoga RX. But as we're really getting stronger, we really want to make sure we're emphasizing mobility, injury prevention, and just not feeling so creaky.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, something we need as we get older, but really at any age. I want to talk about exercise snacks and a couple of resources that I like in that category. So, what is an exercise snack? An exercise snack is just like it sounds. It's a small bit of exercise. And these are things that really we can fit in through the day. So there have been a couple of studies recently that support that we have better blood sugar regulation when we do small bits of movement, walking, body weight squats throughout the day multiple times than if we work out for half an hour one time during the day and then sit for the rest of the day. So what I have at home, I have a standing desk, and I don't have an actual standing desk. I have a platform that sits on top of my desk. I click it, pull it up, and my computer, both computers that I use are on that. So it's big enough for both computers. So I stand often when I'm seeing patients. I also have a treadmill or a walking pad that goes underneath my desk. And I've realized I can't do that and see patients at the same time. But if I'm doing work, prepping education materials, or preparing for patients, I can absolutely walk 2 miles per hour. And over 30 minutes or an hour, that really actually adds up and gives a lot of movement in my day that I'm not getting during a regular work day. I also have a little non-motorized stair stepper in the corner of my office too. This is something I will hop on 3 or 4 times a day and do about 30 stair steps as fast as I can. And it's not enough to make me get sweaty, but it is enough to get my heart rate up a little bit. It is enough to engage my muscles. And so I'm helping blood circulate. I'm helping improve blood glucose levels. I think sometimes we think there's no way that a minute of exercise or 2 minutes of exercise can count. And it's probably not going to build your muscle strength or maybe improve your cardiovascular fitness a lot to walk on a walking pad. But the things behind the scenes, like blood glucose levels and circulation, and even helping relieve some of those creaks that we get when we're sitting in the same position all day long. So exercise snacks, things like walking pads, little stair steppers can be really, really fantastic tools to just bring into your office or your home to use on a regular basis.
I love this idea, and it's making me think about the talk we had with Laura Salyer, and she was talking about flow state. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us in our workday I know I need a brain reset, and when we're on a task for a long time, our brains really need a break after about 90 minutes. And so one of these movement snacks should really be a great way to let your brain have a reset, have a little bit of recovery, and it may actually help you be more productive from an intellectual standpoint. So I love that. I think the thing we do at our house is walking after dinner, right? We walk the dog after dinner, we see our neighbors, whatever. It's not like a fast walk. We're chatting with people. The dog is stopping and smelling everything. But we're moving a little bit after we eat. I have a new trainer and she's making me do that I hate, but I know I need to do is jumping, right? So the impact from jumping is so helpful for bone development. And so if you're on a walk, can you skip? Mm-hmm. Could you skip for 30 seconds? Skipping would be really fun if you have smaller people in your life or even smaller neighbors. Skipping is joy, but skipping is also bilateral movement, it's impact for your bones. So skipping could be a fun movement snack.
It's a lot of fun.
So we talked a lot about movement, and I now would like to talk about dinner. And I cannot just say it. I mean, my family does not eat a lot of processed food, and I am the cook in my house, and my husband does dishes, and bless his heart, he does a lot of dishes, and I am so damn sick of making dinner. But I'm going to give you some things that have helped me and us. One website that we look at a lot when we're just sick of what we've been making the same thing over and over is the Real Food Dietitians. And they have a great recipe filter. So if you're doing Whole30, there's a Whole30 button. If you want to do Mediterranean, there's a Mediterranean button. If you're gluten-free and dairy-free, you can click that. You can click what kind of animal-based or plant-based protein you use. You can click if you want to use the Instapot or the slow cooker. So really you can personalize, and then you're not scrolling through 300 recipes. You're scrolling through like 20. Everything I've made there has been pretty good and not that complicated and not 27 hard to find ingredients from places you wouldn't normally shop. So I would definitely check out Real Food Dietitians if you need a little bit of inspiration. One other little food hack that we've done at our house that I did a lot when my boys were younger is Nom Nom Paleo. So Michelle Tam, again, no affiliation with any of these people, has the Nom Nom Paleo website. She's got books. Her cookbooks are written like cartoons.
They're so fun.
And she has pictures of her boys. And so she has 2 boys. I have 2 boys. And so when my kids were little and we were making some of these changes, my oldest has been gluten-free and dairy-free for the last 11 years. So paleo cookbooks were a great place to get started. He and I would just sit down and look through the cookbooks and we would decide what we wanted to try. And the boys really learned how to cook from Michelle. So thank you, Michelle, if you're out there in the universe. You taught my kids how to cook. And we really made fun things. But again, she really helps make things be a little bit fresher, uses a lot of spices. So if you're stuck with food, maybe check out the Real Food Dietitians, maybe check out Nom Nom Paleo.
I am in a slightly different season of life than Dr. Watson is. I have younger kids and some kids who are very picky. We also have sports multiple nights per week. And so there's not a lot of flexibility to make meals in the evenings. And because I do not want my family eating fast food, we do some meal prep on the weekends. We're often cooking whole chicken, or my husband will grill something and we'll have some leftovers from that. I find it's really helpful to have, when I think about our groceries for the week, I'm literally just thinking, okay, how many vegetables do we need to cover this week? And how many sort of healthy carbohydrates do we need to cover this week? So we've got the right potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, bean-based pasta, whatever the staples are. And so I'm in a phase of life where meals are looking kind of boring, but we have the food. So I can throw together, I can steam some broccoli that's in my refrigerator and cut up, or I can pull out the sweet potatoes that were cooked earlier in the week and combine that with chicken. And then I like to have sauces for those of us. There are a couple of us that like foods to be a little more tasteful. And so sometimes that is a good homemade balsamic dressing. Sometimes it's a coconut curry sauce that I've bought and just try to make sure the ingredients look acceptable to me. Pesto is a really fun topping to put on things. So we can all, the picky people can eat their chicken by itself and their potatoes by itself and their broccoli by itself. And then those of us who want a little more flavor can certainly toss things together or add a sauce. And so really just thinking about doing a little bit of prep earlier in the week so that meals come together in less than 10 minutes with food that's already made and ready in my refrigerator.
Right.
So boring, but helps so much with planning to make meals that are healthy for my family and for me, and also quick.
I love that. We use a lot of the Primal Kitchen marinades. There's a teriyaki that you can dump on chicken that doesn't have a ton of sugar in it. Primal Kitchen is also paleo. Again, no affiliation, but they're not going to have high fructose corn syrup in it. At Whole Foods, they have this Gotham Greens vegan pesto. So if you don't eat cheese, It's really lovely and tastes a lot like real pesto. And we use that a ton. I love that you mentioned I'm assuming you mean bonza pasta, the chickpea pasta, because it has fiber and protein in it. And so if you've got a really picky kid that's going for like noodles, you could get some nutrition in the kid, which is fantastic. We've been doing that for a long time. And, if you're working out, you might need some carbs. So those are some healthier carbs.
Yeah. I want to talk about Primal Trust. The longer I do this work and the more I'm just have life experience being a human, the more I realize that our nervous systems are really, really foundational to our health and our healing. We live in a world that really assaults our nervous system on a minute by minute basis. Primal Trust is an online program that is a neural retraining program or a limbic system retraining program. So it's retraining the messages that our brain is sending to our body about safety. It's retraining the messages that we send from our body to our brain about safety. So those are both important. About 80% of our vagus nerve fibers are actually sensory fibers. So there are even more messages going to our brain than coming from our brain about whether or not our bodies are safe and able to heal and regulate. So Primal Trust is a subscription. It's really affordable. It's less than $100 a month. I'm actually doing Primal Trust right now and have found it really helpful. They also don't just give you all the material and say, here it is, get through it. They drip out the material, so you have to watch them in a sequential form, and you can't just skip ahead to the ones that feel the most important. They want you to have the right foundation as you go into learning these tools to retrain. The time commitment is not a huge time commitment per day. It's not an hour of work per day. The videos are anywhere from 5 to maybe 20 minutes each. So I've just found this a really great, very systematic, very thoughtful way to work on that nervous system response. Anyway, I'm loving it. I recommend it a lot to patients. I think especially for individuals who are dealing with chronic illness, feel like they've done all the things, whether that's conventional or functional medicine or both, to heal and are not making progress. I think this can be a really nice thing to add on because this is this piece that we can't put in a bottle and give it to you as a supplement or write a prescription for it. This is the work that gives you a lot of agency over healing and regulating your nervous system. And even though I don't have a particular chronic illness that I'm dealing with, I just have noticed that over the last couple of years, as I've entered into perimenopause, that my nervous system is a lot less regulated than it used to be. And so I'm trying to equip myself and give myself the tools that I really need to go into the future so that I'm avoiding chronic disease and keeping myself really regulated and healthy.
And if this is sounding kind of woo to any of you, I just want to ground what Kate's talking about in some really good science. So I think it was in 2012, someone named Robert Navio wrote a paper called the cell danger response. And so when someone has a trauma, doesn't have to be a capital T trauma, could be a lowercase t trauma, could be an illness like mold exposure, could be Lyme disease, could be childhood issues, but it could be your parents getting divorced, could be you've got a kid that you're worried about. I mean, could be the pandemic, right? I mean, a lot of us experienced trauma during the pandemic. When a body is under whatever it perceives as a threat, the cellular physiology changes. So if you are out there and you feel like your body doesn't follow the rule book with like how you should respond to medications, how you should respond to supplements, how you should respond to all the things, sometimes we need to address that underlying physiology that says, hey, I'm not safe. And literally the cells are like looking for what's out there to harm them, and they're not behaving normally. So this has been proven. And again, I just really love bringing it back to how can we help you heal yourself rather than take the latest supplement, take the latest hormone, all those things. Like, this is really something that is driven, low cost, and we both used it in patients, and I'm excited to try it. I know it's been on my list to do. 2024 is almost over, so I better get on it.
Yeah.
So one other thing that I think both of us have used and we use a lot in our practice is a supplement called Femmenessence. And again, it's not we don't have an affiliation with this company. Femmenessence is a maca supplement, and there are a lot of people in the menopausal space that are promoting maca. And I think it's really important to pause and look at quality. So what does maca do? Maca is signaling on something called gonadotropic releasing hormone in your brain, trying to kind of coordinate that brain ovarian connection. And so when we're sort of going through this second puberty of perimenopause, it's trying to get those signals regulating. So it can be really helpful for PMS and the reproductive time. It can be really helpful for mood changes, energy changes, libido changes, bleeding changes, all of those things. It's just kind of a really nice balancer. What I think is so important that the Femmenessence brand does so well is that maca is a root and it comes in a lot of different colors. And so if you've made salsa at home or whatever, a red pepper tastes different than a green pepper. They're both bell peppers, but they have different phytonutrients. They have different levels of beta carotenoids. They're different. And so if someone is packaging all maca as the same, you don't really know what you're getting. And maca is also rapidly oxidized. So if you're taking a scoop of maca powder, once you open that canister and it's exposed to the air, it changes how effective it is. Whereas Femmenessence is paying attention to the color of the maca root. Each little capsule is sealed with foil so that it's not getting oxidized. And so we've just found this product to be really successful for ourselves. I used it before I was sort of ready for hormones, and a lot in patients. And I just think it's a fantastic resource.
The company has done some small studies and really does show measurable changes in hormones. This is not the same degree of change that you're going to get from hormone replacement therapy. So it can be a really nice intermediate to use, or if someone doesn't feel comfortable with hormones for whatever reason, or has a reason that they are not taking hormone therapy. They also looked at sort of the timeline to effectiveness, and for the average woman taking Femmenessence, they notice a difference in about 3 weeks. I do encourage people to try it for about 2 months, which is sort of the outside of their estimate. But it is nice that you aren't taking this for 3 months before you see some sort of benefit. I think most women will notice some benefit if it's going to work for them within about 3 weeks. So it's a great option, great quality product, and I've really seen a lot of patients benefit from this.
Yeah, it's kind of a go-to. It's a really nice go-to that many people enjoy. Yeah. Again, no affiliation. Nothing we're talking about, we're getting paid to talk about. They're just things that we use.
I want to talk about blood glucose monitors. And so the cool thing about this is blood glucose monitors, here's one, are now actually available over the counter. There's one brand, Dexcom, that you can get over the counter. There are also CGMs that are available by prescription from a provider as well. But why would these be important for someone who's not a diabetic? They help track blood sugar fluctuations 24 hours a day for 14 or 15 days, depending on which monitor you get. And what that lets us see is for someone who has, a normal hemoglobin A1C, which is a lab that's a 90-day value, 90-day average of your blood sugar. If that number is normal or even a little bit high or very high, it lets us see why is it a little bit high, or why is that number in the pre-diabetic range? Is it related specifically to a certain food that you're eating on a regular basis? Is it related to a stress response or something that's going on in the middle of the night? I've even, for patients who are dealing with feeling fatigued after meals or feeling like their energy levels really fluctuate during the day, sometimes I'll order a glucose monitor for them to use, and we can see, even for someone who has a really normal looking average, we can see times when their blood sugar spikes a lot with certain foods, and sometimes it's letting them have agency really over what their blood sugar does. So I think it's a really great, easy tool to use because it helps us know, how do we set ourselves up for metabolic health? How do we set ourselves up for steady energy during the day? how do we structure our plate in a way that really makes us feel our best, and it gives us this real-time feedback. So the over-the-counter option, if you don't have a provider who will prescribe this, is great. And then, if you have a provider who's able and willing to prescribe it, it's a great tool to be able to use.
Mm-hmm. And the Freestyle company also has a over-the-counter
great
too.
Okay.
They both come out. So both Dexcom and Freestyle have over-the-counter options. And I think I just want to add to that is that as a type A gal who's in recovery, women do such a good job about telling themselves to eat less, be more restrictive. And I hope if you use the CGM, you're using it to find foods that don't spike your sugar, right? So when we were talking about the chickpea pasta, instead of saying, I can't have any carbs and I'm making myself overly fatigued because I never eat any carbs, but I'm exercising and I'm not properly fueling my workouts. For me, white rice is a no-go. I can't. I'm spiking way up to 200 if I have a quarter cup of white rice. Bonza pasta doesn't spike me at all. So getting real-time information really helped me see what healthy carbs really work well with my body. And then I think the other thing is that sometimes it's not the food's fault. Sometimes it's stress's fault, right? So stress is going to cause cortisol. Cortisol is going to prevent the glucose from getting in the cell. Glucose can't get in the cell. It rises in your bloodstream and your CGM is going to go up, right? And so again, when we've done all this sort of shame and blame and like, oh, I'm not trying hard enough and I'm not counting my macros enough. Well, maybe the stress from all that is actually counterproductive. So it can be so helpful to record. We usually talk about food, mood, and movement when you're tracking this, because it's not always just the food.
Yeah. I do encourage when people are using this, we talk about, if anyone's had a history of disordered eating, you may not be the best candidate for using something like this, because it is paying very close attention to what's going up and down. And I just encourage people to do it in a setting of not shame, to do it in a setting of learning and getting better able to care for your body. I think that's my big encouragement, is this is a learning tool, and it's helping you feel better, be healthier, but it is not you don't need to shame yourself because you ate a slice of pizza and your blood sugar went up. This is a tool for learning, but so glad that two options are available over the counter.
Okay, so last thing, couldn't do something without me getting to say the word vagina, right? So a lot of women are coming in with sexual pain, vaginal dryness. Now we call it genitourinary symptom of menopause. And this doesn't always have to be worried about penis and vagina sex. A lot of women are having urethral discomfort, urinary frequency, all of these things. And so we just wanted to take a little bit of time, because we both use a lot of Intrarosa in the practice. And Intrarosa is vaginal DHEA. And there are a couple of reasons why this product is unique. DHEA is a pro-hormone that turns into both estrogen and testosterone in your system. And I think one really missed opportunity is that we're often like, okay, menopause, estrogen deficiency, we need to give estrogen to the vagina. And we forget that there are also androgen or testosterone receptors in the vulvar vestibule, in that opening space at the opening of the vagina. And so many women are like, I've tried all of the estradiol in the world, or the estriol, or whatever kind of estrogen, and they're not getting better because you're not addressing those androgen receptors. So DHEA is a twofer, and it's going to hit both of them. The other thing that I love about it is that, unfortunately, we're not doing a great job in our country about protecting consumers by adding parabens and phthalates and fragrances and all kinds of really nasty chemicals that we're putting in our vaginas. Hello. So Intrarosa is FDA approved. It's very clean. It's food grade fat and DHEA. So there's no parabens, there's no phthalates, there's no fragrance, and it works really well. Pro tip, it only works when you use it. So sometimes people are like, I used it and it was great, and so I stopped. And I'm like, so when we're in menopause, unfortunately, the phoenix does not rise again here.
Yes.
Once those ovaries have gone to sleep, friends, they're not coming back. So really, when we're using vaginal support, it's something we're using in an ongoing fashion.
Yes, not a fix it and forget it kind of situation. So Intro is a great product. I prescribe it a lot as well. And it is also, as Dr. Watson said, very clean, which makes us feel good about recommending it and prescribing it to our patients.
Well, this was fun. I hope this helped. You guys kind of know some things that we use a lot and enjoy. And again, no affiliations, just trying to share things that we think work.
Yes. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for listening to Menopause Rescue. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast and it helps you create some time and space to make this the best half of your life. If you've enjoyed this content, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. This helps other listeners find this resource and rescue and restore their health. If you enjoyed this topic and want to learn more, check out our resource guide for this episode. If today's podcast resonated with you and you want to take a deeper dive, check out my educational resources. We offer basic membership, which is an archive of over 100 videos on menopausal topics ranging from bone health to libido. We add to this archive every month, so the resource becomes richer and richer over time. If you're looking for a menopause expert and live in North Carolina, take our free online class and see if we're a match for your needs. It's called Are We a Good Fit? And is a quick and easy way to learn more about our practice and what it has to offer. Hey, this is Dr. Watson. This is just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for general information purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine. No doctor-patient relationship is formed, and any information you get from this podcast is considered educational only. You should make medical decisions with your healthcare provider. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. Listeners should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition, and they should seek assistance from their healthcare professionals.